kind of tires did you bring on this trip?
Drinking at the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow. Don't worry, that's a motto, so we keep moving along.
Right now, I have Dunlop Trail Max Missions, which are a really excellent, high quality 50/50 tire, but I took them off for that trip because they are a little softer rubber and it was going to be mostly pavement and I wasn't going to do much gravel or off-road, and so I put the stock tires that came with the bike back on, and those are like 90/10s, and they have a lot more high wear resistance, and so I used them for it, knowing that I was doing mostly pavement. And then when I got back home, I put the Trail Max Missions back on, and by that point, after almost 10,000 kilometers on those roads and stuff with those tires that were used already to begin with, I took them off and I trashed them. Now another question was there anything you forgot to bring? And I don't know, there might have been something, but if it wasn't anything that major. I might have said something somewhere in those 60 episodes of bike trails that, oh, I wish I brought this or I wish I brought that, but honestly, I had what I needed, and there was very little of what I brought that I didn't use. The only things I really didn't use was a first aid kit and the tire repair kit. So next question, how much did the trip cost? For a trip like that? Well, the way I did it, and again, you could probably do it cheaper if you camped more and went more miles in a day and all that sort of thing. But with going 400 to 600 kilometers in a day and staying at motels and hotels on the way that I could find, eating at picnics, like picnic parks, and then the occasional restaurant, I would say, well, the accommodations alone, hang on, we got a biker convention going through here. Alright. I would say, and remember, this is Canada and this is Canadian dollars going across the eastern provinces. So about $4,000 covered all the accommodations for 27 days. Let's just figure in an average of about 150 or so per night for the motel rooms. And then these were, not top-end motels. These were kind of lower-end motels, which are actually better for biking. Probably out on about another $600 to $800 worth of fuel. I don't think I spent a lot more than that. And then there was food. So maybe $500-600 worth of food, doing it the way I did it. It would have been a lot more if I went to restaurants every night. But just getting groceries and whatnot, yeah, it was about that. So less than $6,000 for the entire trip for the month, the way I did it. So what would I do differently if I were to do that trip again, or one similar? And it's the same thing that I always think when I come back from a long trip. And that's, you have to learn to stop more and explore more. And again, when you plan a trip out, especially itinerizing like I did, the main thing on your mind all the time is trying to get to your next destination within a reasonable length of time. So, I'm on the road and I'm like, well, I've still got 380 kilometers to go before I hit my destination. Now, I don't want to be pulling in there at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, because I'm going to be just exhausted and I won't get rested up enough for the next day. But I don't want to be pulling in there at 2 o'clock either and wasting half the day. So really, what I would do different is, well, like I say, I wish I could go and not really plan ahead and reserve every room for every night of the trip. And it's risky doing that because you can end up with no place to stay, everything's booked or whatever, or there's nothing around. But I still think you might be better off. Because what's important is the things you see on your trip. Of course it's always about the ride, but you're getting plenty of that anyway. You're getting all kinds of ride going that far. So it doesn't have to be just, ride hard on your iron horse for 1,000 kilometers a day, and I see some people go online and they're doing 700, 800, 900 kilometers in a day, but you're never getting off the bike. I don't even know how your ass can take it, for starters. But if you're doing that, you didn't stop and see anything in the area that you traveled. So you really have to go out of your way. There were things in Newfoundland where if I was a little less squeamish about taking these gnarly back roads and gravel and stuff like that, and I just went and did it, I think I would not have regretted it. And there's places I could have detoured to go see stuff that I didn't because I was always concerned about moving on. So, is it the ride or the destination? Well, maybe it's a bit of both. You can't just do the whole trip riding, and you can't just do the whole trip sitting around either. So it's the ride, but you find destinations along the way, and don't be afraid to stop. Like, here's a really good example of that. Don't be afraid to stop. Is you just pulled out, let's say you just stopped somewhere and you had a picnic lunch somewhere, nice little spot, it was pretty cool. And then you pull out, and then 2 kilometers down the road you see something that looks really cool. Like, there's a really cool place to stop and check out. And then you think, damn it, I just pulled out, so I'm not going to stop. I just pulled on the road. Geez, I need to get some time on the road. There's a good example of it, right? Even though you just pulled out, if it's really that cool, stop anyway. So you only went 2 kilometers. Just pull over, check it out, and then go. Because after that really cool place, it might be 100 kilometers till you see anything decent again. So speaking of don't be afraid to stop, I'm going to stop in Owen Sound now. And I'm going to stop and get a little ice cap. Just because I feel like it. And then maybe we'll answer some more questions. So the real question is, where does it go from here? You've done that big trip across country. And you sat around all winter wondering about what you're going to do next. Weather's warm again. We're on the bike again. And I put a lot of thought into it, and there is another long trip I'd love to do, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that for this year. Can't go every year like that with the whole month off work. Not until I'm retired anyway. But I am going to do a trip of some sort, maybe a week or so, something like that. And I think what it's going to come down to is not necessarily where I'm going. I want to do what I've been talking about with whenever I think about what would I do differently when I go on a trip. What would you do? And I really think the one thing that I've never done that I need to do differently is to face my fears, face the unknown, and get out there and do a completely unplanned trip. You don't even know where you're going to be the next day. The only thing you're going to know maybe is a general direction that you might be going and a general area you might be going to. But you're not going to say, I'm going to such and such a place, I'm going to take this route, and I'm going to go on this, I'm going to stay at this hotel, and no, we're not doing it. I need to try and experience as much freedom as possible as I can on a trip. And that doesn't come without risks, I know. And so I will try and prepare for that as well. So that's what I want to do, is a completely unplanned trip into the unknown. There was one more
I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I've got it 2 or 3 times over the course of the long trip video series. And so people get on and they start watching, and they say, you know, the video's great, but you complain too much about stuff. And I'm not going to say I don't. I do complain about stuff here and there. And you're just going to have to understand that it is an integral part of my personality. It's who I am, okay? It's not that I'm trying to be pissing on the world or anything like that. It's more like it's how I deal with stuff. It's my thinking process. It's how I figure shit out. And you know, the world isn't always made of unicorns and rainbow farts. You know, it's not. There is real things and real challenges you got to deal with life, and so that's just how I've learned to deal with it. And so if I'm going along and I'm going around this, you know, it's just how I work out my problems and stuff. It's who I am. Can't change it, although I am working on it. And if you think I complain a lot in those videos, well, you should see how much hits the cutting room floor, believe me.
Well, just like everyone else on YouTube's complaining about, GoPro's been giving me problems too. But hey, at least I finally got some other technical issues worked out. Like, I got this Apple autoplay working. That only took me 3 years to figure that shit out. I had to get a new headset, and I had to get a special cord for the phone, and I had to do all kinds of stuff. I finally got where I can't get the Spotify to work, but I got everything. I got the nav up. Although I don't really need it right now. I don't really need to put in a destination right now. I know where I am. But that's interesting. Now, if I can really get that reliably working, I may be able to get rid of all this other GPS crap. So, check this out. I wanted to show you. Now, this is 2023, and this is a blockbuster video. And these have not been around since what? Turn of the century? Maybe 98, 99 was probably the last ones were being phased out. Which means that place has not been rented for over 20 years, probably 23 years. That's been just sitting there in this mall in Owen Sound.
Okay, so I just wanted to follow up on the blockbuster video here that I was looking at. I know this is a couple of days later, but I found some things out, so I thought I'd come back and just top up on that. This blockbuster video wasn't closed 20 years ago like I thought. It actually closed in 2011, and I can't confirm this for sure, but it's said to be the last blockbuster in all of Canada to close in 2011, and it's been sitting here ever since. The building has not been for sale, it has not been for lease, it's just been sitting ever since. And what else is really interesting is that it still looks identical. Everything is the same as the day they closed inside, except for there being no video. So I don't know if you can see here, but well, it looks like recently they've actually removed a few shelves, but they still have a lot of the original shelving inside. It was identical until not too long ago, so it looks like they've done a little bit in there. But if you look carefully, you still see the original shelving where all the videos were, but it looks like they've ripped the coverings off the walls. But anyway, this has been just sitting here like this since 2011. It's now 2023, so you do the math, and it's been like that, but it hasn't been for sale, hasn't been for lease. It's just been here as an icon to our past generation. And if you're anywhere before the Y generation, you'll know as well as I do that it was always a fun thing we look forward to every week. You know, we would come down and we'd go in and rent a few videos and have a little movie watching binge when we're at home. I remember those days. And you know, it was easier sometimes than the streaming services we have nowadays. We have really bad internet in our area, so instead of your movie glitching out halfway through or going like to super low resolution just so you could watch it, no, you just stuck your DVD in and it played perfectly. Those were the days, I tell you. So yeah, here at Owen Sound is probably the last blockbuster video, and it's been sitting here since 2011. So there you go.